call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
Let's go. I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed. I'll take all the pressure like I'm acing this test. Tear it up like I'm Jason. I see the world like it's ready for the taking. I see this place like a game I'm playing. Straight to the bank to collect my payments. No negotiations, it's my way, I was born impatient. And like a damn Freemason, I'll run this nation.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
I don't know how to stop. I just go till I drop. Whether it's working or shots, give it all that I got. You can watch me work in my element. Anyone in the way is irrelevant. You wanna cross me, cool, not intelligent. Cause I don't forget shit like an elephant. Go ahead and tempt me. Put it on the line and you'll come up empty. If I got time, I'm deadly. Never caught off guard, no, I'm always ready. I got a hand real steady. Look me in the eye and you'll see no hezzy. About to get real messy. I'll put you in a grid 6 feet like Kenny.
You call me a god. You call me a god. You call me a god.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back for another episode of Future Financial Strategies. I hope you guys are having a good week. We are going into Bag Fortification Friday, and we are here to talk about it. Don't have too much of a news story. At the time of recording, Bitcoin's obviously touching new all-time highs. We're fighting our way up. No straight lines, so there's going to be retracements, obviously. But I've been having some conversations on the back, and I've had multiple conversations. And I wanted to do an episode that basically kind of outlines a quick overview of like how I have my finances set up and how I view money. And one of the reasons that we are able to make the headway that we are obviously making. Yeah, I mean, it actually, you know what? It boils down to strategy and intention. So we'll jump right into it, and we're going to start at like the bare base. How do I have my bank account set up? Well, me personally, I have 3 accounts. I have my checking account, which is where the money just lands. I get paychecks, good chunk of my paycheck. The majority of my money goes there. I get to divvy it out as I see fit. That is an account that I pay my bills out of. Straightforward. Spilling off of that account, I have my opportunity fund account, which is a savings account. That I keep a bare minimum of cash in there, depending on what we're working towards. But generally speaking, it's 1% of whatever's in the barrel for the opportunity fund. The opportunity fund game that I play is I work my way up to $10,000, and then I deploy the money towards something. It's either going towards house, improvement of an asset, asset acquisition, value add on an asset. It's not for vacation. It's not for buying new Gucci shoes. It's not for going and throwing a party, not for getting bottle service at the club. It is specifically for asset acquisition or asset improvement, which means it either goes into remodel projects on my house that is a value add that will increase the equity in the house in the long run. It's not for buying cars. It is for asset improvement. Now, with that said, I mean, that's the gist of it, but I only keep like 1% in there. So normally, like right now, we're saving up for either remodel on the property or buying a next on the property that I currently own, or buying the next property. I mean, honestly, it could go towards taking a chunk out of the principal. Like that's also a value add for the property, like getting it paid off faster. Could be for that as well. Or throwing into the pot to help us get to the coveted. Well, actually, that's going to be a separate episode, but we're going to have another video that's going to drop about another strategy that I'm looking at doing with my brokerage account. One of the key things that we're looking at working towards. But that's that account. And then I have a third account. So this is at this one bank. So I have this all at one bank, but there's 3 accounts. Then I have a third savings account that is my in-home banking pool. Now, this would be what most people would consider their emergency fund. I know that a lot of the gurus tell you to have 3 to 6 months worth of all of your expenses. I can get to any of my money within 48 hours. I do not, like, if I have an emergency, I have credit cards for that. I we'll get to that part of how my finances are set up, but I don't believe in keeping a lot of cash in the bank because it is going broke slow. With that said, I do gamify everything. So in order to work up that emergency fund, what I do is I keep a pool of cash, and I literally started this with $50, and I've been playing this game since $50. Whenever I get bonus money, I add a little bit to it. Tax return, add a little bit to it. It was one of the things that I funded. I look at it as an in-home banking pool. For those of you who are not aware of what in-home banking is, it is a financial tool that they use based on your life insurance, where people borrow against the policy because it's not taxed because you're taking a loan, and they build up really large, substantial cash value overfunded life insurance policies, and they use it to buy stuff, which I think is stupid. But as you pay it back, like, it's pegged to the market, so you get like a little bit of market appreciation. You're paying back, you pay a little bit of interest. The interest goes to yourself, and then you can, when you unfortunately, should the worst come to worst with your existence, you can pass off the life insurance pays out, provided you're financially disciplined and paid it back. And it's very convoluted, and it takes a long time for it to get set up. So I don't have that much cash up front. Like I said, like, I'm in the trenches with you guys, so that was not an option for me. I have done something similar back when we could leverage Bitcoin with my cryptocurrency, and it worked. So I figure, take away the cash policy and just make it cash. So I made a cash pool where I borrow against it. Well, I basically am loaning myself money. I'm using my cash, but I pay myself back whatever I bought, whatever that purchase was, plus 10%. And that's kind of across the board how I navigate with most things. Is like I'm a real big advocate of that. So then that's the checking account. That's my bank account. So that's how I have my bank set up. I do 3 accounts, and as I add in banks, I normally will do 1 or 2 accounts, because like I do like to have like an overdraft. Well, if it's not my primary bank, I use overdraw accounts, because your savings, my opportunity fund, there's always cash in there to a certain extent. So there's an overdraw account in there. So like right now, because of the opportunity fund, how well that's going, and my in-home banking fund, I have the most money that I've ever had in the bank, which is, I think it's like $1,300. That's the most. And the only reason it's that much is because the in-home banking pool, we're up to $800 on that. And then we've got $1,500 sitting in there in cash waiting to do something. But honestly, 500 of it's getting ready to move over to be put in to buy another share of QQQ. Honestly, at this point, you can almost put 500 and just buy some Bitcoin, which it actually might be a thing. Could be a thing. Will likely be a thing. And so we have that. We've got that going. So that's how those accounts are set up. So then on top of that, I have my Cash App. Now, I actually have to pull my Cash App up. I'm pulling it up on a device down here so I can make sure to give you guys the skinny. So what I have in my Cash App, I normally have about $25. Actually, my budget is $25 every 2 weeks for incidentals, like extra stuff. Like if I need like a juice or something, or I forget something, or I'm extra hungry one day, I need an extra snack. That's what that money's for. It's so that I don't blow money at work, because I worked with somebody who literally ate his paycheck. And after observing that, I realized that I was eating my paycheck as well. And I was like, this isn't good. This isn't what I want to do with my money. And this isn't the type of plays I'm trying to make here. So what I do is every paycheck, I throw $25 over in there, because if I'm eating over $25 of extra stuff, because I take my lunch, I make sure to pack like a pretty substantial and healthy lunch. I'm eating junk. That's the first thing. I'm definitely eating junk at this point. And it's like every once in a while I'll show up, I'm tired, I need an energy drink. Fair enough. But this helps me monitor, because like if I go through all of my extra, my petty cash, I consider it my petty cash account. And so like I have the card that goes with it. It's hooked up to my Apple Watch, and I just scan and go. Like this is just quick access cash. And I'll let it build up in there. So like sometimes I have like a substantial amount of cash, and it's like, you don't have to worry about stuff. But as that helps me monitor how much I'm spending while I'm at work, because I don't hold myself like, well, now I'm making food readily available at home, because that's just, food is expensive. So like I cut out going to like fast food restaurants. So like I shouldn't be going to Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, which I love, and any of those types of places. I've relegated myself down to like, if I have to go leave the house to go get food and I don't make something, which I have multiple options of things to have. But should I leave to go make something, to go get something, it has to be real food. So it's got to be like a Chipotle, a Five Guys where they actually cook the burgers, something semi-healthy, like even Jimmy John's. Jimmy John's is on my real food list because they actually physically make the sandwiches with real meat and stuff, like something like that. But it's not like I can just go to Burger King, because you're spending almost like 15 to 20 bucks. Also, since they're doing surge pricing, 20 bucks to go get food that I could have for like literally, I can have a good meal where I'm full, take my vitamins, and have like a little snack readily available for $5. So the cost savings there, and like there's a cost saving ascribed to it, but also it's not making me fat. It's also not completely unhealthy. So that's one part of the Cash App. Second part of the Cash App is the Bitcoin holding, which I have, that holds part of my house savings. Considering it's the bull run, this is an accelerated savings account. We're using it to the maximum of its abilities. We're up a lot on it. We've been tracking that with the fund. Actually, hold on a second, because I do have that. I can give you guys an update on that. At the time of recording, that part of the fund is we're at an 84.17% profit. And then I think we're going to probably move that excess that's ready to go now that we're at the $500 metric in the opportunity fund. Because until we start dollar cost averaging out of positions back into the cash fund, so we have it available for when we're ready to pull the trigger and make that purchase. Until then, I want stuff as much in assets as possible. And considering we have until August, that's a good amount of months away. And the price appreciation opportunity is going to be too good to pass up. So we are going to be throwing some funds back into this pool. But that 84% profit as it sits right now, we are sitting up, where are we at? $2,752.30 up from where we previously were. That is a wonderful thing. I am loving it. I am happy about it. It makes me happy. That aside, we are also, what else we got going on here? We also have like a little stock. So I have stocks for my spillover. So whenever you guys support the channel, here, let me throw the banner up just in case somebody's feeling like supporting the channel. Whenever I get my cash apps, I keep those in stocks until they're ready to deploy, which is buying equipment, upgrading stuff around the studio, getting software, obviously fees. There's a little bit, even for struggle streamers like myself that are new to the space, there's cost ascribed to doing this because StreamYard is expensive if you want to do panels. Actually, it's not expensive. It just has a cost. It's like $250 a year. So like there's a cost ascribed to it. So that goes into a pool specifically for content creation, stuff like that. I also, if I go over $30, like if I don't spend for a few weeks and don't buy anything extra, which like right now I'm kind of internal mode, I put that into like a S&P 500 savings and just save it in the market in the Cash App stock section. That is also something that we use regularly. Like I spill over into that so that way I have a little bit of excess backup funds. Like right now I've got, what do I got in here? I've got like, well, actually I put that in an ETF dividend deal. But actually, do they have that in here? See, now you guys got me look squirreling. Nope. Okay, so, but I've got like $21 extra that's sitting in there that's just spillover from me not buying extra stuff because like I don't like having over $30 sitting in my deal, so like I'll kick all the extra over into that, so that way it's stacking, making a little bit of money if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and not eating a bunch of junk food, then that works out. So then the third thing that I have in Cash App is they have a cash advance feature where you can borrow for flat amounts of interest as long as you pay back on time. So like, and it starts off small. It's like $50. And some people have used it. I did an entire breakdown on this. This is one of the future financial strategies that really, until I had the set amount in my cash deal, in my cash pool in my bank, I was building out the borrow feature on Cash App. And what I was doing was I was borrowing with it. And like I told you, the way that I look at things, I leverage. I do believe in debt. I don't know any people that actually are wealthy in real life. I'm not talking about personalities on YouTube that have talking points and opinions. I don't know anyone in real life working with many a millionaires that do not have debt. That said, it's not necessarily debt for vacations and debt for cars. They use debt to acquire assets. I know land developers. They use debt. And I'm not talking leverage to the hilt, Grant Cardone style, just borrow until you're up to your eyeballs in debt. And if anything goes wrong, you lose it all. There's a thing that's called tasteful debt. I don't know. I don't understand why we have to say this. It's either you know how money works or you don't, and you know your risk tolerance or you don't, and you know how far you can get to the edge or you don't. And I understand that the larger platforms, they're marketing to the lowest common denominator. I am speaking to my wolf pack brethren and sistren. And over here, I'm making the assumption that you're not stupid. Okay, so the strategies that I'm teaching, obviously, if you're dumb, you don't know how money works, yeah, you can go crash out getting into debt. Anybody can go crash out getting into debt. I had previously, prior to getting into the cryptocurrency space and finding Bitcoin, had crashed out and gotten into debt. So like, I do understand that happens. I do understand that people are stupid, but I'm making some assumptions since there's a small group of us over here, and I am talking to the small group. I'm not here for the masses. I am not here to help you freak the system so that you can go buy Gucci belts and pretend to be dope for girls at the club that are going to finesse you and steal your money. Um, I'm here for the people that are actually trying to make a change, that are trying to build themselves, that are trying to build something different than what we've previously had. Those are the people that I'm here for. So I do use debt. And so like I've got that up to it's up to like $650 now. And like at that point I kind of started, so like what I was doing is you were able to borrow, and it was under 6%. I think it peaked out at 6%, but I pay myself back 10%. So like I would pay that back, and then I would I would do the 10%. For 6% of it obviously went to CashApp because like they want their money. Rightfully so. They're fronting me money. And then I would take the other 4% to myself, or I would add it to my Bitcoin Cash. But I started off just utilizing it, and I was just using it, paying it back early, using it. It was just getting a little extra $50, and I'd pay it back when I got paid 2 weeks later. And then they kept increasing the limit, and then I kept borrowing the max, and then they kept increasing the limit, and then I kept borrowing the max. I got up to $650, which is roundabouts where I wanted to sit, utilizing it for them, because they get 6% of that. So I'm only getting 4% that's going to the cash pool. But what I did was, as the numbers got larger, I would take that 4% and I would add it to my cash reserves in my bank account to help build that out. And then after we got to the point to where we were about equal on the amount that I could borrow plus the cash reserve, because I was using both. So I'm paying back two debts now. You're managing it. After it got to a certain level, then I started using my cash reserves for large purchases. So like if there was a knickknack or something I wanted, I'd put it in a rotation. So like instead of just going out and swiping and buying stuff willy-nilly, large purchase. Now small purchases, I do have a small purchase problem. Like come grocery time, like I'll grab my candles, whatever, I put those on the card. I normally just pay that. I like during the bull run, I have a float that I give myself, and yeah, like we'll float it out. So there's a little debt during bull run season. We're going to be paying that off early, and we're going to be doing some episodes about that, because now we are at about, let's say, I think it's like $6,200. We're just going to pay it off. And I'm going to show you exactly how I go about paying it off. Like now, this isn't money that I don't have. It's going to take probably a month or two of focus paying. But like first thing we're paying down the Discover card debt, because we're probably going to bang one more of those loans out, or we're getting ready to bang another one of those loans out. But before we issue ourselves that next loan, we're going to pay down all of the debt. We're going to just clear it. We're just going to focus in, and we're going to divert all the funds, but the bare minimum. And we're going to have a bare minimum that goes over into the investment pool. Obviously, the portfolios are semi self-funding at this point, but there's going to be a little bit of money going into those from the budget, but like everything else, we're just going to clear debt. We're going to get the debt clear. We're going to issue another loan off of the credit cards. We're going to get to that part. But this was one of the first things that I was leveraging to get me some extra money, because it was easy. It was easy, and it was borderline free money at the time, because like it started off at like 3%. That's the deal. It started off at 3%, and then as inflation and interest rates went up, it ended up doubling, and it got up to 6%. And at 6%, I was like, I'm only getting 4%. But I'd worked myself up to where I had a cash pool, and I was like, I'd rather just have the whole 10% to myself, and I'll just utilize this more. The 650 is still going to be coming back into play, though, specifically when we start coming after this debt, because that's going to be a chunk of money. It's lower interest than the 20-something percent interest that I'm floating on the credit card. But mind you, cryptocurrency portfolio, we're up 80% in a short amount of time. Plus the other portfolio is up 45%. There's no percentage that's lower than my credit card debt right now of anything that I'm doing. So what we're doing is we're leveraging the debt. We're in a space where we're getting multiple percents. Also, we're compounding in the crypto and in the crypto, both just holding the Bitcoin and in the portfolio that's the active portfolio for this year. That's also compounding and generating income. So those are reasons that I'm okay floating the debt. The reason that I'm paying it off early, we will have a video coming soon about. So I want to spill the beans. I don't give too much in this video. That's off topic. So that's CashApp. That's how we use CashApp. And as you can see, it's the way that I look at debt. I use debt, credit card debt, CashApp debt, debt from myself. All of it is being utilized to get more. It's utilized for asset expansion. I'm using debt to buy assets. I'm not buying cars. Y'all don't see me around here having Porsche talk yet. But when the time comes, we're going to have it because I want one and I'm going to get one. But everything is being utilized to expand wealth, to buy income producing things. I'm not buying vacations. I'm not funding lifestyles. I'm not doing all the stuff that they tell you, all the people that say debt's bad. Debt's bad if you don't know how money works. It's a great tool as somebody who's out here in the trenches with you. If you do know how money works, it is a wonderful tool for being able to get yourself to your financial goals faster. But nobody's out there going buy assets with debt. Nobody's saying that. And there's a reason, because that's what rich people do. They don't want you doing what they do because then like maybe you'll end up where they're at and they're trying to gatekeep you. Or you're just not intelligent enough, which is a possibility for some of the people on those channels. And even having that tool in your tool belt is going to end up hindering you, and that's why they tell you to stay away from it. But over here, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's a small channel. I don't have to talk to a bunch of people quite yet. So I'm going to tell you I'm going to give you the real on it, and then people can just scroll back, and I'm not going to tell people to just stay away from debt ever. I just won't talk about it. Will probably be my way of towing the line if I need to, unless asked. But yeah, so that's the way I look at that. And then now we're going to move over to the credit. I'm going to have to do an episode on why you should have good credit. I'm going to have to do an episode on that. But I do have good credit. It floats around anywhere between, I'd say, 780 and 820. So I have good credit. The reason I have good credit is because for a long time I thought, oh, credit mattered. And I didn't understand why. I just thought you had to have good credit because then it was something you could brag about. And apparently now it's just been relegated to modern women who don't actually have any wealth that brag about that. But I do have good credit, but I actively use it. So the number goes up and down. Right now it's currently sitting at 809. Every once in a while we do the monthly updates. And when we do the monthly updates, you'll notice that some months, like when I'm utilizing it, the number goes down. And then the number goes up as we pay the debts off. So like once we pay this loan off, this cash advance loan from Discover off, it's going to shoot up. Once we start chunking down the floating debt that I've got, it's going to shoot up. Now, what we're probably going to do with that is I'm going to chunk it down to about 2,500, and then I'm going to resume business as usual because my float that I allow myself, I am over it right now being at 6,200. I went 1,200 over. Why? Because I wanted more money in the market, and that's just what it is. There were no large purchases. It's just getting ahead on groceries, a couple of maintenance things, and I went over. Like it's what it is. Sometimes it happens, but it's during the bull run, so it's all relative. And like, so now when we get this paid off, we're going to pay it down to 2,500 and then get it back to where we're just paying it the way that we're supposed to be paying it. Which will chunk it down anyway, but it'll be slower because I am chunking at that debt regularly. But the way that I have my credit cards, I do have a few credit cards. Now, I've had some of them for over a decade. Like I have some of those accounts that have just been open. Like I finally, like a couple of them I had my first credit card. Like I still have my first credit card. They've just recently transitioned it over to a Capital One Venture. Most people, at least my age group, their first credit card was Capital One. Super easy to get. I also had a God, I forgot the name of it, but it was a nice credit card. It was really cool looking. But when I fumbled the bag the first time I had that card, Wachovia Bank. Everybody talks about it because they were part of the 2008 crash. Yeah, I had a credit card that I never paid back from them, and but it was a cool card. I really liked it. It was emerald green. It was nice. But the one card that I have that I've had this whole time is my Capital One card. Like I was paying $50 a year for this card and just didn't realize it. And so like I called them and they switched it out and bumped me up to a venture which has no fee on it. They moved me over, transitioned me over to that. But it was like they got rid of that card. That card doesn't exist. Like you can't get that card anymore. And like I had it so long that they transitioned me over to the venture card because they were doing away with that card altogether. Because like it didn't do anything. You got no benefits. It was just like, hey, my first credit card, and you had to pay $50 to have it. And I'd been paying it for forever. And so they moved me over to the venture card. I have that card. I also have the Capital One. It's like the 1.5% card. I got that card too. And then I have, what else do I have? I've got a Citibank double points card. I have a Discover card. I have also what's this? The last one that I've gotten is the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is travel card. I got a Trip that I got in points. That's my daily driver card. I love it. I'm kind of considering because like it depends on what we start doing moving forward. Because if I'm not gonna be traveling, like I kind of almost think I should have like one of the American Express that gives you points on everything and then you can use them everywhere. I think I would accrue more money as a daily driver off that card than the Chase. And the Chase also has the fee, which I'm not a fan of fees, but we'll see how it works when I'm utilizing it. Cause like I haven't had time to go anywhere. So I haven't. And not having gone anywhere, I'm sitting on enough points to go somewhere and just haven't gone anywhere. So we gotta relegate that out. But realistically, all my other cards, specifically the Citibank and the Discover, and I'm debating on if I want to get rid of the Citibank or not, because I think honestly switching it out with like the Chase Slate, I'm pretty sure they do the cash advance offers where they send you the checks as well. I know Discover does, and I use Discover, but like the Citibank is also one that I would consider using. It's just I'm firing them as a bank, and I'm trying to decide if I'm firing them as a bank or if I'm firing them as a bank and a credit card. Because I've had that credit card for a long time, and realistically, it was my decision to get into a banking relationship with them to try to establish that. And now that I'm not, I'm just kind of like very dejected with the whole thing. I kind of almost don't want them to have any of my money, but I might keep it for the cash advance. I might keep the credit card. Closing the brokerage, closing the checking and savings accounts though. But outside of my daily driver card, everything else I'm using to get cash advance money and be able to qualify, because like Discover has some really good deals on personal loans that are pretty straightforward to pay back. And so like for me, for what I'm doing, that is free money. And that's the way that I look at it. I'm looking at it as going, hey, can I expand wealth with this? Like, what can we do from a portfolio standpoint? So I'm looking at that from that perspective. And so like, that's how I have my credit cards broken down. And then I have my crypto, which is a pool of money that I'm actively working at trying not to touch. So like everything that I do is to acquire Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. And they go onto a ledger, which I look at as a retirement vehicle. Like I'm not touched. That's my retirement. That's my 401k. That's my Roth. That's my failure fund. And I'm just not going to touch it until I'm ready to touch it. And then when I'm ready to touch it, I'm going to allot myself 1% a year. and then let the appreciation do what it do after it's up there. Because like I do know that like once that retirement fund in the ledger is at about $500,000. Actually, let's do the math on that. Like, what? Oh God, give me a calculator, please. See here. So we go 5, 3, 4, 5 times 0.01. Oh, I'm doing some quick math here. Time 0.01. Yeah. So if you're like, I'm looking at drawing on that like as minimally as possible, because hopefully, actually the game plan on here is I'm trying to just hold out long enough for it to be able to be leveraged, because the interest loans on something that appreciates at the clip that Bitcoin's going to be doing it, they should probably have very low, like dumb low interest, like the type of interest that they give you on your loans out of your brokerage. And I'm not like, I don't want to have to sell anything that's an asset. That's the game that I play, is I don't want to sell my assets. I'm fine borrowing against them and then paying those back with dollars, but I don't want to sell any assets ever unless I have to. Like, I mean, obviously, if I need to, I'll trade up my home because I am very much in the money for where I'm at. And if I can roll that up into a much better place in the same area, I might consider doing that if I needed to at some point. But like right now, like we're trying to just go ahead and make a down payment and then secure the property that way. But at some point, people trade up houses, especially if it's the primary house that you live in. Makes sense. Not faulting anyone for that. It's just, if you cannot do that, then now you have two properties and one can generate income. That stated, like moving over to the, like, I just don't want to touch my crypto. And if I have to touch the crypto, I want to touch the crypto last. That's the way that I'm looking at this. My brokerage accounts, right now we've got the Roth, which barely, like, it's a slow moving account. Like I got a little minuscule amount of money going into there a month because I don't believe in failure funds. Everything else, there's a chunk of money going into the brokerage account now that we've hit $100 in dividends to help that grow out, because we're at $100 a month between the two of them. I'm trying to rush as soon as possible. Like the first jog in my brokerage portfolio that I'm rebuilding from scratch right now, my individual account, the active one that I can just get at the money and pay normal taxes on. There's no rules and regulations on how I access that money. We're trying to get that. I'm rushing to get that to producing $500 a month. And now that I've been going back and forth, that's the first jog, is to get that producing $500 a month. And what we're doing is we're pouring everything into the individual brokerage account, the active one. That first account is going to be an income account. And I'm going to have 3 accounts eventually. The first account is an income account, but I also have the QQQ position in there. I'm holding in there for my house savings right now because it's just one account. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to spread out to the other accounts yet. But I am going to be opening, and after it gets to the point to where it covers the majority of my pivotal bills. So I'm looking at my house payment, a car payment, and my phone and utilities. Actually, I'm just going to go for the house payment, phone payment, ballpark utilities, and internet. Like your core things, like those 5 things. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna just leave utilities out. I'll leave utilities out. House payment, phone, car payment, a potential car payment. I don't have a car payment, but a potential car payment. my phone, and internet. Those things are stagnant because utilities fluctuate. So like that one gets a little bit squirrely. But like if I can get my core essentials, like to keep my house on and the internet coming in, because like I can go out and hustle to keep the lights on. Like that's generally, hopefully, I pray that your utility bills aren't your house payment. Like that would be wild. Unless you're paying borderline nothing to live at a place. I know someone who falls into this category. Then your house payments are your utilities, but like those two things cumulatively are both less than rent, basically anywhere. So unless you're on like Section 8 and the government pays for your stuff, then like everything's free and you live in magic land, but you are also poor. But outside of that scenario, like we're just trying to get that brokerage account kicking off that amount of money. And it's not that I'm going to utilize it for that, but at that point, we can start making some moves and rolling out another portfolio that's going to just be a portfolio that's specifically built to just hold companies that I'm very long, very bullish on. And then that specific portfolio will be the one that I borrow against. And then I'll use the income portfolio to pay for that. Because everything is strategic. So like you'll have a portfolio that's growth, and I'm going to keep my stocks separated. Because like if everything is in one portfolio, it gets jumbled, and you can't really, in my opinion, I like having things categorized. So like if I have a portfolio that I'm like, hey, I'm going to be borrowing against this one day. These are companies I'm just buying and holding forever, and I just constantly buy them indefinitely unless the narrative changes. I need to reallocate some positions here. These things are just going to be sitting, and then eventually I'll be able to take loans out against the portfolio for low interest, and then I have an income portfolio that I can use to divert funds over there to pay it back. That's my goal. But right now, we are on the jog to getting my individual brokerage by itself, not the Roth, because the Roth is going to do what the Roth's going to do, but I just don't count that money because I'm not supposed to touch it, which is why there's so little in there. Like the prospect of waiting for things. I'm not a patient person, and realistically, not having to pay taxes on that. If you have a portfolio that's generating enough income for you to live on, just pay the taxes. Like it's not a high amount of taxes. Like it just really isn't. So, and they try to scare you into that. But we did the episode on taxes, so the Wolfpack should be well aware. If you're not, go back and take a look at the episode that I did on tax breakdowns. They try to scare you into not making money because they don't want you to be rich. They put the tools out there and then they scare and shame you for using them. It's wild, but that's the way the system works. I think I'm going to put a pin in it right there for today, because that's basically the gist of it. I just really kind of felt the need to go through and just do a rundown of how I have my stuff set up, because while the way that I do things is complicated, it works for me. And you can take pieces of it. Again, chew the meat, spit out the bone. Some of these things, like some of these protocols, like might be of assistance. Looking at how you utilize debt might help you. Like maybe, I don't know. Like the way that we look at things and the outcomes that we're having. Like if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to end up in the same boat as them. And the more that, like, I like it when I find that I'm doing something like blatantly different than most of the people around me. But I also check myself by going, well, what results are they getting from these actions? Like, are those results that I want? Is what I'm doing more efficient than what they're doing? Is what they're doing more efficient than what I'm doing? Do I need to switch something up? Like, I mean, I'm not the type of person who direct deposits into multiple accounts normally, but I've started because now I'm at a point financially to where it helps me that the money's just already there. Like, I'm just like, okay, like the money's over there, like, cool. Like now I can just go, cool. I just need to like click one button as opposed to moving the money, waiting for it to get there, waiting for it to the deposit to clear. It's just in the account. And I can go, all right, well, like how much do we have in here? Are we ready to deploy something? I haven't gone full bore with it. I'm only using it to get the little bit that's going into the Roth and then a little bit shooting over to Cash App that needs to be deployed over there. But it's a start. And like, I am getting good results with it. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. Like, it's starting to be like, well, do I need to do this with everything? But a lot of my investing right now, especially since I do leverage, it's fluctuating. So it's not like I could just put all of my real estate money, because then I would have to wait to get a chunk of it back to pay the cash advance that we use to front run the real estate money. And then I'd have to wait. And then like now I'm back in the same square that I was. So the majority of it goes to the checking account, that little bit that goes into the Roth, and the little bit that shoots over to Cash App. Because Cash App is pretty instantaneous. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to see what it would be like to have some of the money just start off there. Also, Cash App gets you paid earlier. I wouldn't want to put all the money there, because in the event, like normally I'm ahead on bills, so the payment that I owe them, so when I first started out, when you're managing debt, especially if you have multiple credit cards, I'll do this and then we'll end the episode. So when I first started out, I would run into situations where I would get dinged with late fees, because like the check would hit and then it would be like real close to the date that it was due, and then the money wouldn't get shot over there in time, and then they're like, you paid late. And it was just a big to do. And one of the ways that I alleviated that is like, when money comes in, I'm constantly cycling. Like, I'm always shooting payments. So like when I get paid, generally speaking, even if I don't owe them, if it's around $100, I just pay the card off. If it's not, I'll pay 50% of what's there. So under normal circumstance, outside of my daily driver that's afloat, like I just pay all the cards off every month. Like I keep enough bills on them to keep them active so that I'm in good standing, whatever. You got to play the game, especially if you're doing credit, you play the game. But my daily driver is the only one that I really care about, because I'm harvesting those reward points to pay off. But since I'm using it, I can put more money into my investments. Obviously, I track my savings rate. And last month we were at 57%. So almost 60% of my money that I made, and like, I'm not by any means rich, just went into investment activity. And I'm just carrying the debt. I was like, so like, I would say under normal circumstances, I'm somewhere between 35 and 45% I could get away with and like not accrue debt in the rate that I have to put all the money in the market. But I'm like, it's a bull run, so I'm trying to get as much money in there as possible. It's basically the gist of it. And doing that, getting my credit cards where I'm far enough out to where like I don't have to worry about missing a payment. I could just put it all in Cash App and get paid earlier, but then like moving money out of Cash App takes 2 days anyway. So I would still not get it till the following week. Like, I would just get the money into a place that pays the bills slower. And unfortunately, Cash App does not do bill pay. If Cash App ever does bill pay, Cash App, if you ever do bill pay, I will have all of my money start there. Honestly, because while I like my traditional bank, like, I am not an advocate for banks, like, unless you're in a private banking relationship. And if I'm not going to be in a private banking relationship, I would rather have all my money at Cash App if they did bill pay at this point. Like, I'm just like, I would just rather disseminate my money as I see fit. And if they did bill pay, I would probably shift the majority of my money over to Cash App. And then I would transfer out to get to my brokerage, and that would be a little bit slower, but that is a price I'd be willing to pay to have minimal use for a bank. I would just have Cash App and my credit union, and we'd call it good. And most of the money would be in Cash App, because like, that's after the whole city fiasco, that's how put off I am with the bank. I'm like, I don't even want a private banking relationship at this point. Like, they made me not like them a lot. And I don't know that I'll ever recover from the PTSD. But it's your boy Reckless Raidenero. We're gonna put a button in it on that. Tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Are you guys, especially the avid? I want to have conversations with the cash is king people and the all debt is bad people. Because like I would love to have that conversation based on math, like not emotions, not your talk. I don't want to do talking points. I just want to talk about math and just I want someone to make me understand how that works when it comes to opportunity cost and inflationary dollars. But yeah, shoot me an email because I would love to have that debate with anybody, like whoever won it. Because like I know there's a lot of cats out there. Like I know Wall Street Trapper don't really understand how that works because he don't use it, which is cool. He making a lot of money. Like if that's how he wants to navigate, dope. But Anton Daniels also hates debt. Like totally fine. I get it. But like I really would like to have the conversation because like these people never have conversations with people that utilize debt in the way that I do. And so like I think that would be a really interesting conversation to see what their thoughts were on that specifically that. Because it's a different perspective than like what they espound. Because like if you listen to the narrative, it's like everyone who uses debt is just a degenerate, and they're either buying a million houses or they're out here just debt up to the eyeballs, and if anything goes wrong, it's over and they can't pay it back. And it's like I'm not using any of the assets I'm purchasing to pay the debt back. I'm just paying it back with dollars out of my paycheck that are worth less than the dollars that I spent because of the time value of money. Like I just don't understand. It's weird to me. But you know, we've been hearing it since we were kids and people just keep saying it. Like I used to believe it as well. And like now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm like, this is a different world over here. And like I'm seeing my accounts grow faster. It's real easy to pay this stuff back. You just do the same budgeting tactics that you do with anything else. And then when you hit windfalls or catch some breathing room, you just barrel them down faster. But we'll see. I mean, because also that apparently if you get a 30-year mortgage, you're also just losing all the money. And I don't think mathematically that's true either. Also, you can pay extra to pay your house off faster, which requires financial discipline. But I'm just guessing these guys just don't talk to people who are financially disciplined. And I am financially disciplined and can have that conversation. But it's your boy Reckless Raidenero. Get your favorite guru to holler at me. Tap in with me down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I love to have the conversation. Until next week, I'm out.